NinjaX here. Welcome to a new Enlightened Vlogs. Today, I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit more my opinion. If you guys have a different opinion on the matter, that's fine. You're entitled to it. And I don't begrudge you for having that opinion. In fact, if you can make a persuasive argument, you might even change mine. Unlikely as it may be, as I'm fairly convicted on this particular opinion. Different people play video games for different things. Some people play them for the razzle and the dazzle and the yay, I'm going fast, and the fun and the blood and the gore and the bloody blood and the gory gore. I'm not like that. That's not why I play games. Other people play them purely for the challenge, purely for the adversity in playing the game. For people like that, games like Dark Souls or Demon Souls and Battletoads are the best of the best. I am not on that branch of people. Even if I wanted to be, I can't be, because I don't have the skill set required for those games. Maybe Dark Souls. Maybe Dark Souls if I was really persistent. Then there are the people that play games only for social reasons. Only because their friends are playing games. And that's fine too. They're just not dedicated gamers on their own time. They're not real gamers. They're just people playing video games. And that's okay. Here on NinjaX Enlightened, we accept all kinds. Casual, hardcore, and anything in between. Then there are people that play games only because of the graphics. Only because the games look as realistic as humanly possible. This is a very self-destructive way of playing video games. Because you're always going to be left behind. The most beautiful, gorgeous games on the market, the ones that emphasize more and more and more and more and more polygons, are the ones that end up looking the worst in a few years. Does that mean that these games shouldn't exist and that these people are wrong? No. They should exist, and it's their opinion that they really enjoy those games. That's why games like this typically have a cyclical release date. Every year or every other year there's a new entry to the franchise that usually sells billions and billions of copies and makes a lot of gamers like me, a little bit sick in the stomach. Why is that? Because gamers like me, gamers like a lot of other YouTubers, don't play games for the graphics. Don't play them to look at them. Don't play them to jump from point A to point B. Don't play it for the challenge. We play it for the total package, for the full immersion. Ninja, you've already talked about this. Yes, but I'm not talking about just that. In this vlog, I want to talk about the difference between graphics and art style. There are some people that cannot go backwards graphically when it comes to games. People that will say that the new... I gotta think of something off the top of my head. The new Dragon Age game is the best game of all time because it looks really good. Hello, Muffin. And you know what? It does look pretty good. And the art style's pretty neat. It's not my type of game. The whole open world thing is kind of lost on me, and I don't feel like the lore of Dragon Age is as deep as a lot of its fans say that it is. But I'm not here to be negative. I'm not here to be pessimistic. That's the easy way out. I want to talk about the importance of art style in games. A lot of the earliest 3D games are the ones that graphically have aged the worst. Games like Donkey Kong Country and Mario RPG. And then I see people on the internet, I won't name names, because not only because I can't think of any of them off the top of my head, but because it would be rude. People that'll say, oh, Donkey Kong Country's aged so poorly. Mario RPG looks great! When they're played on the exact same Silicon Graphics-based game engine. And in fact, the fake 3D of Mario RPG makes the game much harder to play than Donkey Kong Country for most people. Graphics don't bother me. Graphics don't affect me at all. Because I can get past it. I can get immersed regardless of graphics if the story or the atmosphere or the art style is good. Every unique area in every Donkey Kong Country game has a unique feel, a unique atmosphere, a unique art style, and a really good one. When you're in Jungle Japes, it really feels like you're swinging on vines through the jungle. When you're in Blackout Basement, it really feels like you're in a factory, the bowels of an industrial wasteland. The graphics haven't aged so well. The music has aged pretty well. The graphics have not aged so well. Then if you play Yoshi's Island or Super Mario World, the graphics of those games have aged very well because they were optimized for what they were at the time, not trying to be something that they weren't. But maybe it's just me. It doesn't feel like there are that many different areas in Super Mario World. There's the ghost houses, the forest, the cave, the overworld, the other cave, and the towers. And it's good. It's a great game. I'm not knocking it at all. I love Super Mario World. But people heap praise on it that I don't think is always entirely deserved. While crucifying games like Donkey Kong Country because the graphics haven't aged particularly well. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that it's not really right. Though what they're doing might not be 100% right. That maybe they should play the games for the experience instead of for something shiny to look at. Video games have the opportunity to be this great source of interactive media. When you watch a movie, you can get really into it, really into the plot, really into the lore, really into the action, really into what's going on the screen. But no matter what happens in that movie, there will always be a part of you that's thinking, it's not happening to me. It's okay. It didn't happen to me. When you watch somebody play a video game, let's playing or not, if they get killed in the game, if their avatar gets killed, they don't say, crap, Mario died. They say, dang it, I died. That in and of itself shows a connectiveness between video games and people that movies can never achieve. So to me, it seems like playing them for the same reasons you would watch a movie is a massive waste. Which isn't to say movies aren't great, because some movies are really fun to watch, really entertaining, really funny, really intense, really heartbreaking at times, and really good. The lore can be deep, the acting can be spot on, but the games that get vindicated aren't the games that take advantage of the interactive medium that is gaming. They're games that sell on shock value. Games that say, we have more blood than the other guys, so you will like our games more. And then we have people hopping up on YouTube saying, oh, it's so good, it's so brutal, so much blood. While condemning the competitors that do it without the gore. But that's another topic for another time. I keep getting sidetracked. Graphics, are they important? In my opinion, very little. A lack of graphics, negative space, can be used to portray things that too much graphics cannot portray. Take Silent Hill, a game series that I haven't played, because I don't typically play horror games, because it feels like so many of them try and sell themselves purely on shock value. Silent Hill has terrible draw distance. A graphical issue. But because of that absurd draw distance, it creates an eerie sort of feel. You can't see what's coming, and so you don't know what to trust. Which is perfect for the game's atmosphere. Take Mario 64, a game that's been criticized by everybody and their grandmother for having a poor draw distance. Not quite as poor as a lot of PS1 titles, but still pretty poor. Especially when it comes to coins. Forget that there's a terrible draw distance for coins. And instead, look at the worlds and the music that's in each of them. Bob-omb Battlefield feels like the start of an adventure. Whomp's Fortress feels like the journey to the top of a fortress. And then you get to the good stuff. To the winter level, and to Jolly Rogers Bay. The Castle Secret Slide, the Wing Cap level. And the first fight with Bowser. These areas are great not because the graphics were revolutionary for their time, which they were. They're great because they're experiences that leave a lasting impression. Mario 64 wasn't as hard as Banjo-Kazooie. It wasn't as hard as a lot of games. That's not why people remember it. Thank you, Cat, for being as in the way. Get out of here. Go. Go. I'm just saying graphics are secondary. Or tertiary, or even quaternary to the experience. So you shouldn't put them first. Before trying to pessimistically take apart whatever you're looking at, whatever you're playing, whatever you're doing, give it a real, legitimate chance. Don't look at a grape and say, this is a small fruit flesh balloon, it will taste like plastic and I will hate it. Look at a grape and say, I wonder what that tastes like. don't look at The Legend of the Dragoon and say, well, it looks better than Final Fantasy VII, but not much. Look at The Legend of the Dragoon and say, wow, the plot. Wow, the story. This is one of the most criminally under-talked about games of all time. One series of games that I've already played one of on this channel that I love, I'm going to say this right now, and I know I'm probably not going to make a whole lot of friends by saying it. I love the 3D Zeldas. The first Zelda I ever played was A Link to the Past, but I never owned it, and I was only able to get as far as beating Moldorm. The first Zelda I beat was Ocarina of Time. And I have many memories of forcing my younger brother, forcing Ninjbro to read directly from the player's guide while we were in the basement of our dad's old duplex, so that I didn't miss any small keys as I went through various dungeons. I remember struggling with the Water Temple. I remember playing Majora's Mask and, ashamed as it may be for me to say it, not being that impressed with it. I mean, it was good. I just didn't like it as much as Ocarina of Time. And I felt like because it reused so many of the character models, it was kind of lazy. How ignorant was I? Then Wind Waker came around. And at first I wasn't into it, just like I wasn't into Majora's Mask at first. Because of the graphics. But once I got past that and played the game, I love the Wind Waker. Yes, it might be my least favorite of the 3D Zeldas, but I absolutely adore it. And saying that it's my least favorite of the 3D Zeldas is kind of like saying it's my least favorite child, because I love them all that deeply and that dearly. This cat. There we go. Then Twilight Princess came out, and I loved Twilight Princess when it first came out. It was everything I loved about Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, all bundled into one package. And 5-6 weeks after beating it for the first time, I start seeing these posts on IGN. Twilight Princess has the worst boss battle ever for Ganon. Worst ever. Ever worst. And I'm just like, who put you in charge? They were playing it for the wrong reason. They were playing it for the action or for the challenge. And that's not what 3D Zeldas are about. They're about the experience. They're about the lore and the artistry and the depth therein. Then Skyward Sword came out. Skyward Sword. I loved Skyward Sword. I got it as a surprise Christmas present the year it was released, when I didn't have any of my game machines besides the Wii. I loved it. I loved it. I love the story. I love the character development. 5-6 weeks later, everybody started hating on it. And why? Well, because Fee was annoying, apparently, according to them. I never had any problems with Fee. But then again, I had the common sense to keep a couple of double A's near me at all times. And people hated it. For that reason, and because it wasn't 1080p. It wasn't true high definition graphics. It wasn't 60 frames per second. Like the newest Call of Duty. Like the newest Call of Duty. Those people were clearly playing it for the wrong reason. Or were playing it deliberately to find fault with it. I don't know what it is about human beings. Why people get such a thrill out of dragging other people down. Undercutting their equals. Stepping on their lessers. And sucking up to their superiors. I am NinjoX the Enlightened Gamer. I love the 3D Zeldas. All of the 3D. Stop it, cat! Zeldas. And graphics has nothing to do with it. I love Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3 Returns, and I'm sure I'd love Tropical Freeze too. And graphics has nothing to do with it. It's all about the art style, and it's all about the immersion. I want to be able to jump into a game and have to hold my breath. Shouldn't you? Until the next time, stay enlightened.